G'day, I'm Trev, the proud son of a Vietnam veteran. Many Vietnam veterans suffer from a horrible disorder of PTSD, but Anna Aquino says that her dad found therapy at home which helped keep the disorder in check. Anna is joining us from Canal, Winchester, Ohio in the USA. It's 8 at night here in Queensland, Australia, but 6 a.m. in Ohio. I'm very grateful to you, Anna, for making yourself available at this time, and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a blessing.
So your father, Sergeant Kenneth Howard Palmer, served in the Vietnam War. Unlike many other Vietnam veterans, why do you think your dad was so able to avoid the serious consequences of PTSD? What did he do that was different?
My dad is an amazing storyteller, so he did have his moments. He did struggle, but he kept it very separate from me, if that makes sense. Like my sister and I have an older sister. And by the time I came around, I was 11 years later. And so, yes, he did have problems. There were things that did go on. I don't want to paint a rosy, beautiful picture. My dad is a human. He is not perfect, even though he was always, to me, I was daddy's little girl. But he was an amazing storyteller. And so I grew up, I mean, to me, the Vietnam War was an uncle I never met, if that makes sense. Like we were always listening to stories. Still today, I'll go home and it will be like, hey, did I ever tell you about this time that, a water buffalo ran me up a tree? And so we heard them. Now it was the funny stuff, but we always heard that. And I think that being able to tell his story helped him process the trauma. I mean, I can't even imagine the trauma that he went through. And he always said that we were his therapy. And I think that there's a lot to be said to that.
Why do you think that PTSD hasn't really affected you from the Vietnam War?
I think it's faith. Here I am. I'm a faith writer, person of faith. I think that it never really sunk in. I'm a published author. And so it was the first book I ever wrote was my dad's story. And that book is not fully published. There's a short story of it published. But when I sat, it's like it was the uncle that I had never met. And then somehow I kind of met vicariously in writing his story. That's when it really hit me. I guess to me, they were all just always funny stories. And then to put myself in that position, it makes me emotional just to talk about it. I suddenly saw things through my dad's eyes. I suddenly saw them through the eyes of these kids because they were kids, right? They were 18, 19 in America. They were 18, 19-year-old kids. Yeah. And it shook me to my core in a lot of ways. And so I was always very my father shouldn't have lived, and I have stories where I should have died in a car accident when I was 2. And so that really on a faith level, it was like, why am I here, God? And since, I am alive, since I am here, what is my mission? What is my purpose in life? Because so many times, my father shouldn't have made it. Good Lord knows I shouldn't have made it. So, why am I here? And I think that set me down a course of self-discovery and God, where are you in this?
I believe that your dad had some experiences of some serious health effects due to the exposure of Agent Orange. Can you tell us about his conditions and the outcomes? Also, has that effect passed down to you or your sister?
Well, my dad, when he was like Superman, he was Superman growing up. I mean, Agent Orange will do that. Nobody really knows when it hits, right? And so he was really healthy growing up. I mean, I remember as a little girl writing his hand so he could do curls. He was always going to the gym, and I remember that very vividly. And when I was a senior in high school, he had all of a sudden, no one knew what was going on. He couldn't walk very well. And it was a miracle he got in when he did. He had a tumor removed from his spinal cord, had to learn how to walk again. So, I mean, soldier on when it comes to health issues. He had to learn how to walk again. It was a miracle he lived. And then when my oldest daughter, I was pregnant for her, I'm trying to think, he had 2 strokes and a heart attack. Wow. Now, he was a smoker for years and, socially drank, but had 2 strokes and a heart attack. when then he became a very severe diabetic. Then he had stage 4 throat cancer, which I'll get to that in a second, which is directly Agent Orange related, even though he did smoke. I mean, anyway. And then now he's had all his teeth removed and then has false teeth put in. They're false permanents. But so yeah, the throat cancer. Of all of his guys, I think that there were 12 of them that had cancer and only 3 of those are alive. And the throat cancer, he remembers only getting 1 canteen of water a day. And so the guys were be thirsty. It had just been sprayed sugarcane fields, sprayed with Agent Orange. They would open it up and suck on that. And so I jokingly call that Agent Orange gum. And so, doctors look at him now and say, well, you're alive. We don't know what to do for you. You're alive. It's a miracle he's alive. And he bless him, he works out like 5 times a week. And if he sees this, he'll correct me. It'll be like, it's whatever, daddy. I mean, he's still, even with disabled, his walking is very labored. He finally gets to the point where he'll let us put him in a wheelchair, but he gets real grumpy about it. He just, he's not a good patient. He never has been. But yeah, his health is directly related to Agent Orange. American government didn't really even question that when they looked at where he was. And so how does it affect my sister and I's health? For the most part, no. I did have an unexplained optic nerve injury after my youngest daughter. I am, and I'm believing that I am fully healed and whole and standing on the word of God for that. But doctors never have understood what it was. And that was one of the lists when we were talking about what could have happened. I had an optic nerve stroke, if you will, and I went, blind in this eye and completely numb on this side. And now I'm completely, almost 100%. I do have a little vision impairment on this side. And that was one of the list of things we're like, well, we don't know, but she's an Agent Orange kid.
Yeah.
Well, I still personally, I don't accept that for me. It's like, I will not accept all that health stuff, but it's very real and it's very there. And so my sister and I, for the most part, are good, but definitely it's a part of our world every time I look at my dad.
Yeah. Talking about your dad, I did bring up this photo before behind me. I love this photo, Anna. Oh, look at that house. What book are you reading? Can you remember what book you're reading there?
Yes, it's 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
Oh, how gorgeous. Was that a tradition?
Yes, every Christmas Eve. And in fact, this year, this is so funny. I called him and I said, I need it. I'm 42 years old, right? I was like, I need 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. So he got my sister and I on speakerphone, and bless him, he read us 'Twas the Night Before.
Oh, how gorgeous is that? And look at this handsome photo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
That was in Hawaii when my mom and dad were on R&R.
I don't know if you can see, but just right behind my shoulder here,
yes,
there's a Bible with his name on it.
It is. My grandmother had that made for him and put it in his stuff. And bless her, she's been gone now for over, I can't know how many years, 12 years. She used to always be like, there wasn't a dry page in it, and there's still red dirt in it from the fields of Vietnam, and I inherited that. That's mine.
Oh, what a treasure.
Yeah, it's in my office desk.
And what's this one down here? It looks like
that
a headlamp.
A Viet Cong headlamp for the tunnels.
Right.
And Daddy won't talk about how he got it. He was down in the tunnels a few times. I mean, my father's so funny about these stories. He'll start to talk, he'll laugh, and then all of a sudden he'll be like, yeah, he didn't need it anymore.
So read between the lines why he didn't need it anymore.
Hey, Dad. But he did pick this up, and that's all I know about it. But I do have it. I have a lot of his stuff from Vietnam, and yeah, it's kind of an interesting relic. It works with a battery if you like. Anyway, I've never tried to make it work, but that's how it's supposed to work.
I believe that you have some great memories of you growing up with your dad, that he even taught you how to fling a machete at age 7. Tell us about that and some other fun adventures that you've had with your dad. Fling a machete?
Yes, I remember this so vividly. We were sitting outside. My parents have this acre, and like my aunt has 5 around it, and so it's kind of a park, if you will. And I remember as a little girl, I mean, we had these relics from Vietnam. It was just part of my childhood, and we were out there and he was teaching me how to make it stick in the ground. And it was like, oh, we're flinging a machete. I mean, I remember, I mean, we're Americans, but, Second Amendment rights. I remember shooting up. I mean, Daddy used to teach us how to shoot. So he will still tell that I got him in trouble because we shot up the doghouse and I told on him. we were target we were target practicing.
So he shot up the doghouse.
Yes, shot up the doghouse. That's my dad, and he still tells me it's my fault that I told on him. I don't remember telling on him, but I do remember doing it.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
But I mean, my dad is hilarious. I remember there was years of water fights in the house. I mean, in the house. Like, I remember one of my earliest memories is him getting the ice cold water and dumping it on my mom's head in the middle of the house. And when we took up that carpet, there was water, like a huge water stain in the middle of the floor. I mean, he's a hoot. Still
Wow. It sounds like you had a lot of fun growing up. Now, with children of Vietnam veterans, what services do you specifically think is required for children of Vietnam veterans out there that's lacking in the marketplace?
My biggest thing for my dad, I've seen there's so much healing in him telling his story. Because, I mean, I think these guys, I mean, I've mentioned this on the Facebook page. When my dad came home, I mean, they had to hide the fact that he was coming home because there were so many riots. And they were, in fact, rocked. There were rioters that came in and rocked these guys. They just risked their lives, right? I mean, no reason why my dad should have lived. The American GI had a 2-week lifespan in field, and my father survived an entire tour. I mean, I can tell you stories that are just not pretty. And so they rocked these guys. The guy in front of him, Dad does not know what happened, but he did remember he got hit and there was blood coming down from his eye. And so, like, these guys were encouraged to go home and shut up.
Yeah.
And my dad, while he did publicly, I mean, I'm the public one in the family. He did publicly, privately, we knew it. And so I think that it's just so important. And that's what you call, like, services. I think even public awareness is important because I'm the one over here going, tell your story. Go hug the vets. Go ask them, their story, because I think deep down all of them want to share.
Yeah.
They want to know what I did was important. It really happened.
Yeah.
And that validation, even in public awareness, even in the children of, I mean, I so many times start telling stories my dad I grew up with, like the water buffalo, you can run up a tree with the water buffalo, or, making a friend go down the hill of pig poop. And I mean, these were kids playing practical jokes. Yeah. And I mean, they're funny stories. And vets kids suddenly go like this when I talk because they've never heard their dad's story. So somehow, vicariously, whether their father's alive or not, they look at me and go, oh, wow, how did you know? And I find there's so much healing in, let's start talking about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so it's that public awareness, and that's my thing, and that's always been my thing. It's like, let's start hugging vets. Let's start, sharing. It's okay to talk now.
Yeah.
We honor what you did.
So for those of you who might not know, that Anna is a valuable member of our leadership team at Vietnam Veteran Children Worldwide. I am personally incredibly grateful to you, Anna, for your contributions to our amazing group. But Anna, I want to ask you this. What made you want to align yourself with our vision and give so generously of your time? And what message do you want us to get out there?
It's, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I think we met somewhere in a Facebook group. It was just like, yeah, duh. I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a published author. My first book, although it's not published, and yes, I could self-publish it, and that's another story, but it's about my dad's service. I mean, this is so much a part of me, where it's like, yes, and I've talked about it. To me, it's a ministry thing, so many of the children don't know. So it's like, how can I sharing my story and sharing my dad's story brings some closure, because while to me it was a lovely uncle I never knew, to many it's a, you know, horrible uncle that we keep locked in the closet. You know, it's there, it's the skeleton in the closet. You know, let's bring it out and help people get closure, because if anything, you know, yes, it happened 60 years ago, but we should still be able to talk about it. We should still be able to share openly. We should still be able to, you know, have that nice uncle in the family.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't pretty, and war is never pretty, but anyway. So that's why I did that. It wasn't even a question. And my contribution is just, you know, hey, you know, in sharing these stories, I think we all can learn, because there's so many people and kids that are just so broken over the war, and just like don't even. I met a woman in Florida many years ago, and I'd love to have her contact information now, but had suffered 9 miscarriages. She was a child of, and had suffered, when I knew her, 9 miscarriages. And so miscarriages is one of the second generation effects. And so now I know that this is the second generation effect. You know, at least it would help bring some kind of like, this is the reason, and not just there was something wrong with her. You know what I mean?
Hearing your heartwarming stories about your hero, your dad, thank you so much, Anna.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
If you're a child of a Vietnam veteran, you can join our exclusive family via the link below. Here you'll find kindness, understanding, and hopefully lifelong friendships. Be safe, be well, and please remember to reach out to any professional services listed below should you need them. Our parents went to war, but we endured the fight. See you next time.